Hey everybody, welcome to 3DIQ Live Training. I'm Tim, one of the founders of 3DIQ, and I'm here today to go over the basic candidate submission process. So creating and sending out your first candidate. So I would really consider this to be a basic training or a beginner training. If you do have more specific questions or want to do some more advanced trainings, we'll have a few more advanced trainings later in the year or as we go. But you can always reach out directly to us, either to myself at tim@3diq.com or to support@3diq.com. And we're happy to set up some individual one-on-one or group training to cover any part of the process. So like I mentioned, today we're going to go over individual candidate submissions. And then at the end, if we have a little bit of time, I'm going to try to keep this brief. If we have a little bit of time at the end, we'll go over skill marketing and sending out candidates via skill marketing. So let's start now with candidate submissions. I'll pull up my screen here in just a second. There we go. So we are here inside of Bullhorn, should be familiar to all of you. And what we're going to do is go to the 3DIQ tab. So when we go into 3DIQ, we will import all of the candidates that you have internally submitted to that job or matched to that job inside of Bullhorn. And you can go and create a profile for each one of those candidates. Now, 3DIQ is extremely flexible in how you can create profiles. And this is a real point of, I think, innovation, or where you have a lot of options for creating profiles. The most basic way is to select a candidate resume or CV file. So all of these CVs that you see on the screen here are the ones that are stored in your candidate record or your candidate file in Bullhorn. So that allows you just to use the files that you have inside of Bullhorn to generate a candidate resume or a candidate profile for your submission. The other ways we can generate candidate profiles are actually by auto-generating profiles based on a template you create. So this means that you can create a template using any fields from Bullhorn, including a resume field, and we will import those fields and generate a profile for that candidate. And so that is valuable because it allows you to bypass some resume formatting perhaps, or bypass using a document altogether. But in the case of this submission and for the purposes of this training, we will talk about the standard way, which is using a PDF or Word document or text file that you have on your candidate in Bullhorn. So what we see here is a basic template that we're using to submit candidates. Again, this is very flexible. It can match your branding. It can include different information about the candidate. Or, for example, if you don't submit resumes with candidate names at all, we could include their Bullhorn candidate number or some other detail about that candidate. So we see our candidate name. We see a place for internal notes. Internal notes are going to be a really valuable tool for split desk. So where you have a separate recruiter and an account manager dealing with the client. In this case, the recruiter is going to prepare the resume submission. They're going to enter in some notes about this candidate. So maybe what their relocation package needs to be, when their availability is, and then they're going to be able to share those notes with their account manager when that account manager or sales rep reviews the candidate before sending it off to the client. Next, we have a place for recruiter notes. So recruiter notes are going to be your traditional notes that you're going to want to pull and then also send to your client. Most commonly, I guess, this is going to be in your submission email that goes to the client. So what we have here is a bit of notes that we've generated from the submission in Bullhorn. But you can also use a variety of different fields in Bullhorn. Maybe you want to use your candidate comments section in Bullhorn, or maybe you have a custom field in Bullhorn that you use for candidate notes or bullet points about your candidates. We can pull those over and display them in this section that will also be visible to your client when you send them this submission. We have an optional section for attachments. So if you want to upload an additional attachment, like a Word document, PDF file, something like that, you can include that on the resume as well. Contact information for your account manager or sales rep who's dealing with your client. This is an example here of a custom field. So we can include, as I mentioned, custom fields or fields from Bullhorn in your profile. So this is a custom field I have on our candidate record called favorite ice cream flavor. You see we've imported that value from Bullhorn, which is strawberry. And then if I want to, I can make additional edits or additions to it if I want, and save that information. And then again, that will be a section of the profile that the client sees. And then finally here we have the candidate resume or the CV itself. So in the case of this profile, what we are displaying to the client is an embedded resume. So this resume came from LinkedIn and we put it into Bullhorn, and now we're embedding it into 3D-IQ. So this candidate is ready to go, ready to send over to the client. As I mentioned a minute ago, we have an option for split desk, and that is email account manager. When your recruiter hits email account manager, they're able to send an email notification to your account manager, or essentially the person who's listed as the owner of this job in Bullhorn. When that job owner or account manager receives that email notification, they can open up the email. They can edit that, click an edit button on that email, and that's going to take them directly to the candidate profile inside of 3D-IQ. So it's a really quick way to give access to your account managers and to also notify your account managers that this candidate is ready to submit over to your client. From here, if you're the account manager, you're going to see this same exact screen. Or if you're the recruiter, you're going to be able to also submit your candidates from here as well. So when we want to submit our candidate off to the client, we will hit email and log submission. So what this does is two things. Primarily, it's going to open up a new email, whether you use Gmail or Outlook. It's going to open up that new email using your email system, and it will populate that email. So it puts the client's email address in, it puts a subject line in. This is all configurable based on the settings inside of 3D-IQ. It's going to put some notes in about the candidate if you have those in the profile. And then most importantly, it will put that candidate resume link inside of the email. So from here, all you have to do is send the email. And what's important to note about this, or important to remember about this as you're sending out your very first submission inside of 3D-IQ, is that the way that we send out submissions is that we do not use a third party to send our emails. So they're not transactional emails using a third party. They are individual emails being sent using your Outlook or Gmail. So once you send this email, once you click the send button, it will be in your sent folder inside of Outlook, for example. It will log into Bullhorn if you have Bullhorn email logging set up. And so you can be very confident, and this is the key point really, you can be very confident that these emails are going to end up in the inbox of your client so that they can receive your submission. And then when the client does receive that email, all they have to do is click on that link and they'll be able to review the submission that you sent them. So this is an example of a single or one-on-one submission. So in the case where you're dealing directly with your client and you want to send them a single candidate. So the candidate's going to be able to view the link, mobile friendly, nothing to log into, no passwords or anything like that. They can see a branded profile that will contain all of the information that you've decided to put on this profile, which in our case includes some notes, contact information, our favorite ice cream flavor, and then our candidate profile or resume embedded inside of the document or inside of the link. So what we've just covered here from front to back is submitting a single candidate from the point where we've brought them in from Bullhorn, generated a profile, and then sent it off to the client. What's nice about 3D-IQ is that we also support multiple candidate submissions. And so the way that we manage that is back in this list screen where we've imported all of your submissions on this job. If you want to submit multiple candidates, you simply select those candidates and click email and log submission. So when we do that, we will open up your email and we will put all 3 candidate links inside of the email that you sent to your client. The value of this, in my opinion, and it is that the email that your client receives here is going to be very similar and very familiar to them. So we're not trying to take them on a wild journey or ask them to do something radically different than what they're doing right now or what they're probably used to if they receive traditional submissions with a file attachment to it in the email. In this case, they're receiving an email from you, just as they always have. And then instead of downloading an attachment, they're just clicking on a link and they can see all of the candidates that are being submitted to them in one place. We do have a client portal. If you want to give your clients an access to all of your jobs and all of your submissions, we have an option for that. That works really hand in hand with the submission process, but it is independent of that process. So up until now, what we've covered is the basic submission process. Next, what we could talk about a little bit are some of the process automations inside of Bullhorn. So right now, we're back in Bullhorn under the job. And let's take a look at some of the things that 3D-IQ will do for you from both a recruiting and an account management standpoint inside of Bullhorn. So the first thing is the sent to account manager note in Bullhorn. So this note in Bullhorn is the log that you as the recruiter sent this candidate over to your account manager to review. Next, we have our client submission. When you as the recruiter or the account manager clicks that email and log submission button to send this submission to your client, we will automatically log your client submission in Bullhorn and we will put a note in Bullhorn. Next, we have our resume view. This is your indication that the client viewed this resume, and you will receive an email notification when your client views every candidate in real time. You'll receive that email notification, but then we'll also write a note into Bullhorn. And as you can see here, we've written that note into your contacts profile and then also your candidate profile inside of Bullhorn. Next, we see that we can also write a feedback notification. We didn't give feedback on the candidate that we viewed just a second ago, but if we had given that candidate some feedback, we would also send an email notification and write a note into Bullhorn. Okay, so at this time, I'll open it up for any questions before we cover a few final things and then wrap up this training for today. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in right now. So the last thing I will cover here is back in our dashboard. So what I want to show you here is first the visualization you have here on this dashboard of candidates. That will show you which of your candidates are being viewed, which have been approved or declined, and then whether or not, if you're using our client portal, whether or not that candidate is visible to your client in the client portal. So you can see all of that from your submission screen here inside of 3D-IQ. And then finally, a really big value add, which is sometimes overlooked, I think, when we talk about candidate submissions, is that we will automatically set an expiration date for all of your links when you send them out to your clients. This is configurable as far as how long that resume remains visible for inside of 3D-IQ. But when you submit your candidate out to your client, we will automatically set that date. For example, you can see for this resume that we sent out here, it is 1 month or 30 days. And this resume will expire on October 27th. So that means that if on October 28th, your client comes and clicks on the link inside of 3D-IQ or the email that you sent them, they will be able to view the name of the candidate. they will be able to see, instead of the resume that you sent them, they will instead see a message that says access to this resume is expired. Put in your email address to reactivate this candidate. So it's a really great way, first of all, to protect your data, and second, to keep clients from trying to steal candidates from behind your back, right? Because they will not be able to review that resume or see that resume on the link. And it also allows them to follow up with you, of course, and perhaps bring some business back from the dead. Like I mentioned, all of that expiration process happens automatically in the background. You don't have to think about it after we've set that default expiration date. Okay, so unless I see any other questions coming in here, we can wrap up today's training. In the future, we will have a training individually on our client portal, as well as our skill marketing solution. So if you want to take a deeper dive into those products, please tune in for future trainings. With that, thank you all for attending, and reach out to us at 3D IQ if you have any questions.